today on Head Coach.
I can remember the losses more do the wins. The wins go with the wind. You know, but the losses, boy, they just keep staying in there. I've never been a coach that would go out there and correct a coach on the field and say, hey, coach, you're doing that wrong. I would never do that. It's amazing where all of the jobs I've got in 54 years of coaching, I think about 6 different jobs, I didn't apply for one of them. They called me. Jobs I tried to get, I couldn't get. If people could realize how close I came to not coming here, let me just tell you how close it was. It's easier to say, oh, it's nepotism. Oh, that's what it is. Jeff Bowden, you're the problem. So 2 things will govern my future here. Number 1, am I staying healthy? That part seems to be pretty good. Number 2, can you win enough games to keep them satisfied?
Coach's Fact is proudly brought to you by OnTrack Incorporated, the leader in fiber-to-the-home connectivity. Bobby and Ann Bowden live in the same home that they bought when he took the head coaching job in 1976. His 4-year contract called for a salary of $37,500. In fact, the Bowdens have had the same listed phone number for the past 30 years. Coach Bowden is an early riser, generally walking before 4:30 a.m., reading and viewing film before getting to the office.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I know there's many people in America who'd like to be sitting right in this chair, and it's an honor for me, and thank you for carving time out of your busy schedule.
Well, thank you for including me and my family.
Well, it's a good story to tell, I can tell you that much. Let's start with kind of your early days, and you started really in kind of with your playing. You went to Alabama and then made a shift, and walk me through that.
Well, you know, a lot of people ask you, why did you go into coaching, or why are you so interested in football? And I look back at my life, my first home from the age of 1 to 5 was right behind a high school football field. I'm talking about the football goalposts were adjacent to my backyard.
Is that right?
Yeah, and people would kick balls over the fence to get into our yard. That was my first introduction to a football. And so then we moved from there about 3 miles away, and we were about a half of a block from the football field at Samford University. And so every time I walked out in the front yard, if they were practicing football, I could look up on the hill and see them and hear the balls. And so I would go up there and spend probably the next 10, 11 years of my life going up there and playing around the football, watching them practice, playing on the dummies, climbing the goalposts and stuff like that. So I really think that's where I got indoctrinated to football. Plus my dad was a big follower. He never played, but he loved the sport and would take me to the games of that high school and also that college. So I think that's what got me started.
How did you and Bobby meet? How did you progress into marriage and through college? And just talk to me about that.
Well, it's been a long progression because we met in Birmingham, Alabama when Bobby, we lived in the same neighborhood, actually just blocks apart. And our church, Ruhama Baptist Church, was right in the middle. I lived 1 block from the church, and I started going to that church and singing in the choir when I guess I was 14. And of course, Bobby didn't know I was 14, you know, I was a little ahead of myself in school, and he lived in the opposite direction, and he was about 17. And I was up there singing away and, you know, being very good girl, you know, and he was on the back row with this good friend of ours. And you can believe this, 17-year-olds pretending they were mixing drinks with the communion cups, you know. That doesn't sound like him much nowadays, but it sounds like a 17-year-old in church. And I said, you know, my downfall was when he got me out of the choir on the back row, and that was the beginning of the end.
When she was a senior in high school, I was a freshman in Alabama, we decided to get married. So we did get married. You know, well, back in those days, if you were married, you couldn't have a scholarship. You know, so that knocked me out down in Alabama.
You couldn't have a scholarship?
No, that was back in those rules. I don't know of hardly any schools that would give a scholarship to a married athlete. Now they changed that since then, you know. So I transferred from there up to Howard College, which is now Samford University, in my hometown of Birmingham, where Ann and I could be together and go to school together.
We just thought we couldn't be apart, you know, and back then you felt you needed to be married to be together.
So love won out over sports.
There's no doubt about it. It's amazing. Although we got married real young, and everybody says it won't last, you know, 57 years ago.
Wow, wow. Well, that's impressive. Now take me through also your early coaching days and how you bounced and wound up at Florida State.
Well, when I was playing, it's amazing where all of the jobs I've got in 54 years of coaching, I think about 6 different jobs, I didn't apply for one of them. They called me and said, we want you as a head football coach. Now, I had to get interviewed, but they called me. Jobs I tried to get, I couldn't get, you know. And then I got a letter from the president of South Georgia College. So we're looking for a football coach. We'd like to interview you. Well, my wife and I drove down and got interviewed. Never been down there and never heard of the place really. And liked what we saw, and the president didn't offer me the job right there. He interviewed some more people, then eventually offered me the job. So Ann and I went to South Georgia College. We had 3 children. We had Robin, Steve, and Tommy, and she was pregnant with Terry. So we go down to South Georgia College. First time either one of us ever been away from our family, you know. And we coached there for 4 years and had some real good years. I won three conference championships, maybe tied for the other. And then I was called in the office one day, and the president said, hey, we're dropping football.
They're dropping the program?
Oh, yeah. Wasn't making any money. They're about
winning's not good enough.
No, winning did not. That had to do with it. Just those schools, we were all just losing money, so they had to drop the sport.
Who would you consider to be kind of in those early days a mentor? Who did you learn the most from? Where did you really gain some skills, or did you learn most of it just by doing it at Florida State? Well,
you know, I meet every night. I run into a lot of people. I run into guys that I say, "Where'd you go to college?" "Oh, I didn't go to college. I came up through the College of Hard Knocks." And a lot of them are very successful, you know, very successful. And that's kind of the way I was. I didn't play for a Newt Rockney or a Bobby Dodd or a Bud Wilkinson, or, you know, I didn't play. I played for a small college, but I got good. So I learned practical football. Back when I played, you played both ways. You'll play offense and defense. Yeah. Then the first few years I coached, you coached offense and defense. Then being at a small college, you coached, you don't have many coaches, so you had to coach everything. So I had to coach the quarterback, the running backs, receivers, then the defensive backs, you know. And so anyway, that was where I got a lot of experience. But the guy that I got more out of than any of all the great coaches I studied was Bear Bryant at the University of Alabama. I went to Howard College as head coach in 1959. That's 50 miles from Tuscaloosa. Bear went to Alabama in 1958, 1 year before me. And I knew he was a great, famous coach. So I used to go down there and talk to his coaches. And Gene Stallings, who later became the head coach at Alabama, was an assistant down there then. And I probably learned more football from Gene Stallings than any other individual in the world. If people could realize how close I came to not coming here, let me just tell you how close it was. I was head coach at Florida State. We just won a bowl, a big bowl. I mean, West Virginia. We just won a big bowl. Now, Florida State wasn't winning nothing. They wasn't winning nothing. Okay, so I go down to coach in the North-South American Bowl they used to have in Tampa, Florida. So Ann and I go down there, going to be there a week, play, and then fly back to West Virginia. Well, the president of Florida State called me and the athletic director said, we'd like for you to consider this job up here. They just lost their head coach. I said, well, y'all come down there, we'll talk about it. So they flew down there, we talked about it. I didn't say, so then they said, well, when you leave down here Friday, after the game, will you fly by Tallahassee on the way back to West Virginia and let us show you the school, let us interview you? Well, I said I might. So anyway, that was on a Monday night. So it was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, We play the game Saturday, and we're fixed to go home the next Sunday morning. And Ann and I have not decided we're going to go back by Tallahassee. And so finally, either she or probably me, Ann, let's go by Tallahassee just to see what it looks like. Let's just go see what it looks like, you know? So we decided to do that. So we fly into Tallahassee, and John Bridges, the AD, picks us up and drives us around. They've made a lot of new additions and everything. And then they take us to a meeting where I'm being interviewed. I didn't know that was going to happen. Interviewed with a committee there, you know? And when we walk out of there, the president said, the athletic director said, Bobby, we're going to offer you the job. You're going to have to turn it down. We're going to offer it to you. So Ann and I flew back and thought about it all the way back to West Virginia. And by the time we landed, we had decided, let's go home. That's about the way we said, let's go home. But if people, because we had 4 kids in school, you know how mothers are. They don't want to leave those kids, right?
Yeah, sure.
And then if I left, I was going to be gone away from them for 4 months because they got to step in and go to school while I'm down there. And so we came that close of not even coming by. So now, again, I think it's intervention. I think the good Lord leading us on making the right decision. Best decision I ever made.
Coming up next on Head Coach.
It's going to be bad. You know what? And so, well, the West Virginia people are all happy, and they're going over to the pit side and getting all over them. And so, we get beat. We get beat 36-35. Well, now they want to shoot me. Now they want to hang me, man.
Coach's Fact is proudly brought to you by Ramada Worldwide. You do your thing, leave the rest to us. Since joining the Atlantic Coast Conference in '92, Florida State has claimed 12 ACC championships. Coach Bowden and the Seminoles have won more games in the decade of the '90s than any other Division 1A program. Bowden's teams dominated their competitors, having posted at least 10 wins in 14 straight seasons starting in 1987.
Then you became head football coach of Florida State in '76. Program was not doing very well. Your first 3 years were tough, but it seems like after year 3, it just, how do you explain it?
Well, it's funny, people ask you, why would you leave West Virginia? We'd just been to 2 bowls. Here was Florida State, 0-11 one year, 1-10, 3-8. And so the job comes open. Why do you go to a job like that? Well, great jobs don't come open. You don't ever see those 11 jobs coming open, do you?
No, you don't.
So if you're going to move up in the profession, you got to take a job, and it's better, it's wiser to take a job that's down. Then you can't go one way, and that's up.
Expectation management.
Yeah. I think my first year at Florida State, we won 5 and lost 6. And they were marching in the street, Then the next year, my second year we won 10, played in a bowl and got national ranked for the first time in years.
That's not bad.
Then the next year we were 8-3, but then the next year we were undefeated, got beaten in the Orange Bowl by Oklahoma. Next year we went back to the Orange Bowl. First time we'd ever been to a major bowl, but that kind of put us on the map,
Well, it also seems that the people who are truly successful are the ones who see opportunity where others don't. And it sounds like that was clearly the case for you.
Well, that was. My wife and I have always, we're people who believe in God, and we always felt like He will direct your life if you let Him. And we've tried to do that. We've tried to not make any move that we didn't think that God would want us to make, And I think if people do that, really sincere about it, He'll just move you right along.
And I really firmly believe that God chose him for something He wanted him to accomplish. And his whole life has been a testimony to that. And I really think He chose me to be His helpmate, because He needed me. And I needed Him.
I feel like that when God puts me in a position like Florida State or West Virginia as head coach or South Georgia College or wherever I've been, that my job is to coach these young men, to try to set an example for them, and then try to help them learn about something other than just football and something other than just education. They need to learn something about life and the eternity of life.
Now he's a He's a fiery competitor. He's
Absolutely.
intense competitor. And
Hates to lose. He wants to win everything he does, even if it's golf. I mean, we'll go out and play golf and it gets ugly because he wants to win so bad.
Yeah.
And he gets mad when he
that
doesn't
right?
play well enough to win. So whether it's the will to win or the desire to win or the hatred to lose, I don't know what the difference
Yeah.
is. He wants to win and don't care how he does it. You win by 1, you win by 10.
How affected, even to this day, is Coach by a loss?
Oh, well, I tell you what, pretty much, it really affects him. It still affects him. He hates to lose. And he hates to lose, well, he just hates to lose, period, and especially to a team that he's not supposed to lose to. He hates to lose to somebody he feels like what's not supposed to be as good as we are. We got better personnel. We got we think better coaches. We've got better schemes. We got it all worked out. And doggone, somebody walks up and beats you, you know, and it bothers him because you feel like maybe something you haven't done or failed to do, you know, caused it.
Yeah, you feel like you're outworked almost.
You
or
feel like
something.
you're outworked, you're outsmarted, you're and that's a big thing. You don't want somebody to outsmart you.
It's easy to talk about the really good wins, championship seasons. What have been the most difficult losses for you?
Oh, that's the, you know.
That's easy too?
Yeah, oh, that is easy. Oh, it's funny, I don't know how about other people are. I can remember the losses more than the wins. The wins go with the wind. You know, but the losses, boy, they just keep hanging in there. The worst one I ever had was my first year at West Virginia University as the head coach.
I can remember one year that University of Pittsburgh beat us. We were at West Virginia.
At West Virginia University, the big rival was Pittsburgh, 50 miles away. That was the biggest rival West Virginia had. And so my first year, we played Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh. We were ahead 35-8 at the half.
We had the game won, and something happened at halftime. I think we lost a center or somebody in there.
And it's going to be bad, you know it? And so, well, the West Virginia people are all happy, and they're going on another pit side and getting all over them. And so, we get beat.
They came back and beat the heck out of us right at the end of the game. I went home and just fell on the bed and cried, you know. And I decided, look, this is very dumb.
Well, Matt, now they want to shoot me. Now they want to hang me, man, you know. And that was the toughest loss I've ever had in my life.
It's been said that if you really want to find out the heart and character of a man, you don't talk to, particularly a coach, you don't talk to the coaching staff or the players, you talk to the wife.
Well,
Tell me about the character of Bobby Bowden.
the character, well, of course, you know, his character speaks for itself. I mean, people say, tell me what he's really like. I've had news guys ask me, you know, what is he really like? Because, you know, behind closed doors, you know, because when you're out in public and you behave a certain way, naturally you usually put on your best face and your best behavior. What is he really? I said, what you see is what you get. He's pretty much, you know, probably lets down more at home than he does when he's out in public. You know, but really Bobby's character is, you know, like I say, speaks for itself. And he's grown in his spiritual life, and he's grown in character. I think he always had great character.
What comes through about him is his sincerity. You go with him and it's like going down the street with a rock star. People are stopping him. He signs autographs, he signs hats, takes pictures. He does a number of things that a lot of people don't even know about.
That's right.
We've brought kids down for Make-A-Wish, and last year before the Miami game, we had a Make-A-Wish student in here. And brought them into the locker room, had a little prayer before they ran out on the field, ran on the field with that kid. Now that's one of the biggest games for Florida State.
Wow.
He basically stopped everything and made that kid feel so special. He does that, and nobody put it on TV, nobody knew about it, no press releases, no nothing. I think about every Sunday morning, he's in some church somewhere preaching a sermon, and he's just, that's Bobby. He hadn't changed. That's what he was in 1963, and that's what he is this year.
He has always tried to let God direct him, and he's felt like that anything that he's pursued because he wanted it, he hadn't been successful, and it's always worked out. If he didn't get a job and had to stay here, looking back, that was the best thing that could have happened. When he first started getting a job, it turned out to be the best thing that could have happened. But I think he feels like, I know he believes that God has directed him on his path and his course through his life.
A sense of calling, a sense of direction.
Yeah. Right.
Really, your Christian faith then is the basis for much of not only your decision making, but also what you do and how you go about doing it.
Oh yeah, yeah. In other words, to me, the Holy Bible tells us how we're supposed to live and tells us what we're supposed to do. And so that's the fundamental basics of it. Now, do I live up to it? No. I fail just like everybody else, but I try to, and we try to teach it to these young men because I don't want them back out on the streets,
Impacting lives. I mean, that's what I see his desire to do, is really change lives through his program.
And you'd be surprised how many times players will come back, ask his advice on this, that, or the other. What should I do here? He's a father figure to a lot of people, a counselor. I lost my dad, and I'll talk to him sometimes about things, and we have, I think, a good relationship and a unique relationship. So sometimes we talk business, sometimes we talk religion, sometimes we talk philosophy, and sometimes we just talk about life in general.
At one point or another, all of us will be faced with a crisis that will test our belief system and our character. That crisis was faced by the Bowden family in early September of 2004. As Coach Bowden was a few days away from the season opener with in-state rival Miami, the news arrived that his former son-in-law and his teenage grandson, Bowden Madden, had been killed in a car accident. Although rocked by the news, Coach Bowden never wavered from his faith and responded with a letter he wrote to his 6 children, which reads in part, quote, "When I die and go to heaven, if all of you and your family are not there with me when your time comes, I will consider myself to have failed in life. All the statues, trophies, and championships will be in vain. Somewhere along the line, I failed you if you're not there. Now is the time to recommit our lives to Christ. Each night, that is my fervent prayer." Unquote. That is a reflection of the heart of Bobby Bowden, a champion in the game of life. Coming up next on Head Coach.
Jeff doing really a fantastic job as offensive coordinator, but still there's always a swirl of
criticism,
controversy. I don't quite understand.
Well, that's all I do.
Coach's Fact is proudly brought to you by Pilot Travel Centers. Pilot is crazy about coffee. Bobby Bowden's career is nothing short of legendary. No coach in NCAA history has won more games. He's the only coach to lead his team to 14 straight seasons that ended with a national ranking among the AP's top 5. He's coached 2 national championship teams, including the '99 squad that was the first ever to go wire to wire with an AP #1 ranking.
You have a wonderful family. One of the good things about this job is I get to meet all your family, and they are tremendous. You have a great football family, but you have other kids who aren't attached to football.
Oh yeah. My oldest daughter, her husband's coaching.
Our oldest daughter, the oldest of all of our children, is now in McDonough, Georgia. Her husband's taken a head high school coaching job up there at a new high school.
My oldest son is in real estate. He builds houses, lives in Panama City, handles all my financial stuff, And then Tommy, head coach at Clemson. Terry, who's has been with ABC and now has a radio show down in Orlando, Florida. And don't be surprised if he don't go back coaching. It wouldn't surprise me a bit.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think he really misses it.
Is this the news release?
No. I'm just saying. Once his children get grown, the good thing he's been able to do now is be around his children. Usually a coach is gone all the time, but I just say don't be surprised.
When Ginger went to law school at Florida State, she did not tell anybody that Coach Bowden was her dad. Purposely, she didn't want to, get in law school because of him or anything. But she said when she finally let the cat out of the bag and told people that Coach Bowden was her father, they said, "You got to be kidding. He doesn't have any girls," you know. I mean, they really didn't realize that he had 2 daughters.
Tell me a little bit about Tommy. What a great job he's doing at Clemson. He's actually beaten you a couple of times.
Yeah, sure have.
They got a great program going.
Yeah.
Talk to me about Tommy.
Well, I didn't push any of my kids to go into coaching. I really didn't even want them to go into coaching. I didn't want to compete with them. I didn't want them to compete against each other. Tommy was the youngest one that said that's what he wanted to do. When he was back in either high school, maybe elementary school, he wrote a term paper about how he wanted to coach, you know? So it's kind of always been in his blood.
Tommy's a clown.
Tommy's a clown?
Well, he's a fun-loving guy. He's probably more like Bobby. You know, I think as Bobby growing up, and Tommy's been the same way, if he couldn't handle a situation verbally, he just, you know, makes a joke out of everything. And he does that way too. He's, you know, he's funny.
And then I hired him down at Florida State as a graduate assistant. Then he leaves me and goes to, I forgot where all he went, to Duke, went to Auburn, went to Kentucky, went to Alabama, and then got the head job at Tulane, had a great 4 years there, then became the head coach at Clemson. So Tommy knew what he wanted and went after it and got it.
Well, he was undefeated at Tulane, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, his 4th year he was undefeated. It's funny, Terry went to Auburn, he was undefeated his first year. In fact, he won his first 20 ball games.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And then Tommy, in 4 years at Tulane, he goes undefeated. It took me 30 dadgum years to go undefeated. They both beat me.
How difficult was it the first time and subsequent times when Bobby and Tommy have to play each other?
Well, first time it was fun. You know, I did the 2 shirts and the orange, and I was going to do my hair half one color and half the other. It was a novelty. It was something new.
You were going to color?
I was going to do a half and half, you know, really because I knew the cameras love it. Media loves that,
sure.
You know. They like for you to make a thing of it. So I was going to really do something funny, you know. Yeah. But, and it was fun the first year. It was a novelty. It was new. And, of course, they said, well, who do you want to win? And I said, well, I want a very close game. I want us to win the very last minute on that, but I want him to play a great game because that was the first time. And that's the way it ended up.
You've got a couple of close ones, and you've been on the wrong side a couple of times.
We've been on the wrong side, so I said this last year, okay, you've had your day. That's it. You know, that's all.
Yeah.
You done beat your dad twice, and so it's our time this year.
You know, I don't know a more family group that's integrated into big-time college sports than the Bowdens. I can't think of one.
Well, I mean, we talk about the FSU dynasty and what we've done, and we're very proud of that. But that Bowden family dynasty is pretty amazing in its own right. And not only are they, you know, very active, obviously, in the sports world and in football and athletics, but if you look, not only are they a strong athletic family, they're a very strong Christian family, and they're a very strong community service family.
Coach Bowden is one of those, or Dad's one of those guys. He's one of those coaches that lets his coaches coach. And you've got different coaching styles. His style has always been to let them coach, correct them inside. And so if you ever hope to have a head coach and what's the style going to be, that's the kind of style you'd like to work for. You know, because he doesn't go out there and embarrass his staff in front of his players.
No micromanaging.
Right.
You know.
But here's the flip side of that. An outsider may see that as somebody that's not involved, and outsiders have no idea how much he actually is involved.
I've been very fortunate to keep coaches here. You know, I bet you we've had probably less turnover than anybody in the country, just about. You know, and in fact this year we got every coach returning. They like it here. They like it in Tallahassee. Then I'll let them coach. I do not try to coach for them. I've never been a coach that would go out there and correct a coach on the field and say, hey, coach, you're doing that wrong. I would never do that. Other players see it, they lose their respect. So I never coach on the field. I just write notes down, then go inside and tell the coach that I think you're doing this wrong. I think you need to do this or that, you know. And so the coaches like it. They like it here. I mean, I let them coach. And then Tallahassee is a great town to coach in, and Florida State is an excellent university.
He sits up in that tower, and that's another thing. I told Bobby one day, I said, don't you feel like you ought to get in there and rub elbows a little bit more and, you know, be involved? And he said, no, you really don't do that. He said, not many coaches my age, Joe Paterno or any of the older coaches, really do that. They are CEOs of their business.
They're managers.
They're managers, and they hire good people and let them do their job. And I think his coaches will attest to that he's a wonderful coach to work for.
Let's also talk about Jeff.
Okay.
Jeff doing really a fantastic job as offensive coordinator, but still there's always a swirl of
Criticism, yeah.
controversy. I don't quite understand.
Well, I do. It all started when I hired him because of nepotism. You know, it's always been a rule in most colleges that you can't have a member of your family working directly under you. Well, when I lost Mark Richt, I wanted to make him the offensive coordinator. You know, 'cause here's a guy I raised, he knows what I want, he's going to do what I say do. I want him to be the offensive coordinator. And so I named him that. Well, the nepotism thing came up. Then when you lose a game, what do fans want to do and what do sports writers want to do? They want to blame somebody.
Sure.
You know, coaches don't want to, we don't, that's opposite of what we believe in, is losing a game and saying it's your fault, you lost it for us. We don't do that. We win and we lose, you know what? But it's easier to say, well, oh, it's nepotism. Oh, that's what it is. Jeff Bowden, you're the problem. So he was in an automatic position to get criticism.
Yeah, it's not exactly fair. And is it harder to take because he's your son?
It probably hurts me more than it does anybody. You know, Jeff is smart enough not to read it.
Yeah.
You know, and we feel for him.
Yeah.
We feel for him. You know.
Let me ask you: is it harder to take the criticism about Bobby, or is it harder with Tommy and with Jeff?
It's harder with Tommy. It's harder with Jeff. You know, a mom, a mother. You know, we like mother bears. You fool with our cubs.
Watch out.
You fool with our cubs. You better
Hands
watch
coming.
out.
Get ready.
That's
Yeah.
right.
We scored more points per game than Florida or Miami. Our offense was better than, in numbers, than Florida and Miami. And yet, he's the only one that gets criticized because he's my son. You take Georgia last year. They had, they won the SEC. They averaged 1/2 yard a more game than we did. You know, I don't see them getting on their offensive coordinator, and they should. They should.
That's right.
They shouldn't be getting on Jeff either.
The loyalty, the dedication, the love that you have for these children, it's just like us. I mean, we don't mess with my cubs. Don't mess with my cubs in any way.
The wrath of Ann.
The wrath of Ann is upon you. Not that it makes any difference to our boosters and friends that say, well, so what? You know, but it's definitely, I think, stronger with your children. You feel more paternal instinct.
On Tuesday, November 14th, 2006, under intense pressure from fans and FSU boosters alike, Jeff Bowden resigned as offensive coordinator. In his final game coaching for his father, Jeff Bowden helped lead FSU to a 44-27 victory over the UCLA Bruins in the '06 Emerald Bowl. The win gave Bobby Bowden his 30th consecutive winning season. Coming up next on Head Coach.
Once you retire, unless you have something else, what the heck are you going to do? Just spend your time waiting to die?
Coach's Fact is proudly brought to you by OnTrack Incorporated, the leader in fiber-to-the-home connectivity. Bobby Bowden, along with Florida State's Heisman Trophy winning quarterback Charlie Ward, was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame as part of the '06 class. Coach Bowden will be officially enshrined in the hall in South Bend, Indiana, during ceremonies in the summer of '07.
I've always felt like any coach that I had that I want to see them advance, you know? And if they get an opportunity, I'd never stand in their way, as long as they're moving up, you know? And we've had that here. We're having to play against a lot of people been through our program, you know? It makes it pretty tough because they know everything you're going to do.
Yeah, they've got your tendencies down pretty good.
They know them pretty good.
Yeah. Now, and you know, one of the most recent is Mark Richt, who left and is now head coach at Georgia.
Yeah.
we sat down and talked with him. You have a special relationship with him,
Yeah,
don't you?
Mark was a graduate. I tried to recruit him in high school. I tried to recruit him back in 1977. But he went to the University of Miami. He lived down in Boca Raton. So I kept up with him. We'd play Miami, and after the game, he'd run up and we'd shake hands. There's something about him that really attracted me. There's something about him that draws people.
Think about Coach Bowden when in the middle of a game, if things are getting kind of tight, he tends to call out your name. Mark, is everything okay? You got a plan? You got a plan? Yeah, I got a plan, Coach. And then if he got really excited, he'd say, Brad, what's going on? Because that was Brad Scott, who was the coordinator before me.
Yep.
If you didn't score like 3 drives in a row, he's like, Wayne, what's going on up there, you know?
And you can see that on TV.
Yeah,
he's always on
that's
that.
right.
And you can almost read his lips.
Oh, I love him. I mean, he's the best boss, and besides my dad, the most influential man in my life, and I love him to death.
You were talking about him being a little bit hesitant taking that job. That was the thing I was kind of worried about. You know, because you got to be tough to go get that job.
Yeah.
At Georgia, ain't one of them.
Talk about expectations.
That's one of them great jobs, you know.
Yeah.
And so that's typical Mark, though, really think it through before he made his decision. And I know a lot of his accepting that job had to do with his dependence upon God to answer that question. I imagine he felt like God had approved it. So he went to the University of Georgia, and everybody's happy.
Yeah, and look at the success of the program.
Oh yeah, done a great job.
Probably a little too much success, particularly in that Sugar Bowl game.
You mean the one against us?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You faced Coach Bowden after you made the transition.
That's right.
In the Sugar Bowl. What was that like?
Oh, it was weird. I was actually rationalizing in my mind if we lost the game, it'd be no big deal, you know. Losing to Coach Bowden, who I love, and Florida State's such a great program. It wouldn't be that bad if we lost. And so we get into the game, and it's we go down. I don't know what the score. We're losing. And then I see, then the competitive juices start flowing in me, and I see old Mickey Andrews on the other sideline, ranting and raving. I'm feeling like it's a spring scrimmage again, And I'm like, we got to win this game, And once the game got cranked up, I wanted to win it really bad. But the most fun was just to spend the week with Coach Bowden and all of our friends, the men that we coached with for years.
Sure.
But we hadn't had that great a year that year, and I had to play without my quarterback, and he had an excellent football team. So, when your expectation is not as high under that circumstance. I still would like to have won the game, but he was a better team.
What'd you say to him at the end of the game?
Oh, just good game. Thank you for everything, Coach.
Normal stuff.
Yeah, a little bit more than normal stuff.
Yeah.
He's so gracious.
You couldn't tell me. You'd have to kill me, probably, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Of course, he said, "Good job, buddy." No.
One of the things that just impresses the heck out of me about you is you are what you see is what you get. You have time for everyone. You make time for everyone, and if there's a request, you do it. A make-a-wish. There's a special need. Is that what drives that?
I try to, because I feel like that's why I'm here. That's why I feel like I was put here, to serve others, to serve others. But I really believe that's what life is about, that me and you and my players, my coaches, and our job is to serve other people. I just think that's what life is about.
Pretty heady stuff when you walk into the office every day and there's this 15-foot statue of yourself out there. I mean, that's got to affect you, but I just don't see it.
That statue was probably more of the university's doings than his. He really didn't want to do it. We at the university wanted to do that for him and for his family. We wanted to do it, quite frankly, for the university. We're proud of him and what he brings to this institution. We wanted him to enjoy some of that while he's still here. If it weren't for Bobby Bowden, I don't think this program or this university would be where it is today. And he has earned that recognition, and I think deserves it.
How do you not get affected by all the acclaim and everything?
Well,
that's
you know, our
going on?
president, T.K. Weatherall, Dr. T.K. Weatherall, I used to coach him about 40, 50 years ago. And I continue to remind him, TK, you don't even have a statue. I can get him there, boy. You know? But that statue is really because of him. He's the one that kind of came up with the idea. But it's again, that's nice.
And he really had visions of going back to the University of Alabama. But when that didn't work out, I said it was the best thing that ever happened to him, because he got to build his own dynasty right here at Florida State, which I think has meant so much. He couldn't have, I mean, it was already made at Alabama.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody probably will ever surpass the image of Bear Bryant, you know. But Bobby is Florida State, you know. Bear Bryant was Alabama. Bobby is Florida State.
We talk about your faith and Scripture, and I've never found anything in Scripture that said we're supposed to retire.
No.
I mean, have
that's
you?
True. Yeah, and you know, I've seen so many people retire. And once you retire, unless you have something else, what the heck you gonna do? Just spend your time waiting to die, you know?
I hope that he kind of sets a time to get out of here. I told him, I said, look, you know, let's be realistic. You can't go out there coaching with a walking stick. You know, you got to be realistic.
The people that would like to see him retire aren't usually the ones that, they're the ones that are coaching against him, that recruit against him. You know, it's those types.
Yeah.
My dad retired at 64. He died at 64. You know, Coach Bryant retired at 79, died a month later. I've seen a lot of that happen. Others now, that doesn't mean that's going to happen. But what I'm saying is, I'd rather do this than retire.
I'm ready anytime. You know, I'm sure. You know, the old boxer, they hate to hang up the boxing gloves.
Sure.
You know, a fighter hates to hang up his gloves, and any guy that's in competition hate to hang it up, and he hates to hang it up.
There's two people that are going to decide, I believe, when he retires. That's God, and he knows that, and then him. So nobody knows but those two.
So two things will govern my future here. Number one, am I staying healthy? That part seems to be pretty good. Number two, can you win enough games to keep them satisfied?
It's hard to give up a pattern of life you've had all of your life. So I think it's going to be hard for him, but I think God will put him into something. You know, he always closes one door, he opens another one. And I think that he's got something already planned for him.
There's a saying that's as true as you couldn't think of a truer saying in coaching. You're only as good as your last game. And the question is, what have you done lately? Now, we've won national championships, we've won conference championships, we've won more games than any other school in the history of college football in 1A. And I still know if I don't win enough games, they would love to see me gone. I don't care how sweet they talk right now.